Welcome to science class. Today we are going to learn about Earth's layered interior. I'm guessing you know about the crust, mantle, and core, but today we will also be taking a look at the lithosphere, asthenosphere, mesosphere, and there's an outer and inner core. Another job I have today is to demonstrate how we know what's down there. After all, you can't go to the center of the Earth. We arrive at the interior of Earth at this time for two reasons. One is that studying seismic waves tells us a lot about the structure of Earth's interior. The other reason is that this information is necessary before we begin learning about plate tectonics. Earth is both an open and closed system. Earth gets the energy for its open system processes from the sun, while Earth's closed system processes are powered by Earth's own interior heat. Plate tectonics and the features associated with it, volcanoes, mountains, earthquakes, rifts, etc., those are all created and powered by convecting heat from within the Earth. Let's get started. Let's start with what you should already know, the crust, mantle, and core. These three layers are compositional layers. The crust, of course, is solid, but it's not the only solid portion of the planet. In terms of composition, the crust is uniform. We've covered this before. The crust is around 47% silicon and about 28% oxygen. Or in other words, over 75% of Earth's crust is just those two elements. Aluminum oxide minerals are the second most common group of minerals, but only at 16%. In terms of rock type, most of the crust is basalt and granite, with basalt making up virtually the entire ocean floor and granite making up most of the volume of continental rocks. The mantle makes up around 85% of Earth's volume. The majority of the mantle is solid but incredibly hot. Because of that heat, the mantle does deform and convect very slowly. The mantle begins at a point within the Earth where seismic waves abruptly increase their velocity. We'll come back to that later. The upper portions of the mantle are composed of peridotite, which are igneous rocks rich in olivine and pyroxene minerals. It's hard to speculate about the mineral composition of the rest of the mantle, but we are reasonably sure that it is around 45% oxygen, 22% silicon, and 23% magnesium. The core is made almost entirely of iron and nickel, and is nearly 7,000 kilometers in diameter, which is larger than the planet Mars. The inner core has a diameter of around 2,400 kilometers, which is a tiny bit larger than the planet Pluto. While the outer and inner cores have the same composition, they have different physical properties. And again, we'll get to those in a bit, but we're going to start on the surface. Earth has 5 what we call mechanical or physical layers. The crust, mantle, and core are defined by their composition. These layers are defined by physical properties. This is why we have 2 different cores, even though they have the same composition. And the mantle is part of 3 separate layers. First is the lithosphere. The lithosphere is the solid surface of Earth. It is made of 2 parts, the entire crust plus the very top of the mantle. On average, the lithosphere is around 100 kilometers thick. To put that into perspective, if Earth were the size of a basketball, the lithosphere would be about 2 millimeters thick. As you know, the lithosphere is broken into plates and is in motion. The asthenosphere is the layer below the lithosphere. The asthenosphere is what we call a plastic layer, or a soft solid. It's not quite like molten rock on the surface, it's much more viscous than that, but it deforms easily. The asthenosphere is around 700 kilometers thick. The asthenosphere is a portion of the mantle. Without this soft layer, plate tectonics just couldn't happen. It acts like a conveyor belt for the rigid lithosphere, which otherwise could not move. The rest of the mantle is what we call the mesosphere, and it's massive, around 2,900 kilometers thick. The mesosphere is rigid, but it convects and deforms over extremely long periods of time. We have seen how rock layers can fold if enough pressure is applied over time, but we consider those rocks to be solid, and the mesosphere is considered a solid as well. The mesosphere convects because of differences in temperature. At the deepest depths, the mesosphere is around 4,000 degrees Celsius, but the upper portion is only around 1,300 degrees Celsius. And so the mesosphere deforms in an attempt to balance these temperatures out by lifting the lower, hot layers and sinking the cooler, dense upper layers. This convection is the driving force behind what gets plates in motion. Ribbons of rising mantle rock break through the thinner, weaker oceanic lithosphere and drives plates apart. The main difference between the outer core and the inner core mechanically is that the outer core is liquid, but there are other physical differences too. The outer core is around 4,400 degrees Celsius and has a density of around 9.9 grams per centimeter cubed. The inner core is as hot as 6,000 degrees Celsius, hotter than the surface of the sun, and has a density of almost 13 grams per centimeter cubed. The outer core is also much larger, 2,270 kilometers in radius, compared to 1,216 kilometer radius of the inner core. Pressure, temperature, and density all increase with depth in our planet. In fact, the density of iron is less than 8 grams per centimeter cubed at the surface, and for nickel it's less than 10. So the specific gravity of 13, which we find at the inner core, shows just how great the pressure is. That crush is what keeps the inner core solid, even though the temperatures are much greater than the outer core. Temperature and pressure don't necessarily increase at the same rate. In the outer core, the effective temperature on the iron-nickel structure is greater than the pressure, so it is a liquid, while at the inner core, it's the opposite. Alright, now, how on earth do we actually know any of this? Have we gone and checked? Well, the deepest hole ever dug is the Kola Super Deep borehole in Russia, right next to the Norwegian border. At one point, this was an exciting research area, but it is now completely abandoned. The hole is 12,262 meters deep, so 12.2 kilometers. That's a little more than a tenth of the way to the asthenosphere, but it's less than 1/500th of the way to Earth's center. Volcanic material comes up to the surface all the time, but that material comes from the uppermost asthenosphere, still only 1/25th or so the distance to Earth's center. So obviously we have to make inferences based off the best data we can get. However, we are still very certain about the structure of the core and deeper mantle, and I'll show you why. First, I will show you how we know the core is made of iron, then I'll show you how we know that the outer core is liquid, and how we know the depths of each of the 5 physical layers. Thanks to Isaac Newton, we can calculate what the mass of Earth is. And it's not even that hard to do. The formula is incredibly elegant. To calculate Earth's mass, all you need to know are 3 things. The gravitational force on our planet, which is 9.8 meters per second squared, the diameter of the planet, square that value, then divide this by the universal gravitational constant. Newton never discovered this final piece of the equation, but Henry Cavendish did so in 1798. That constant goes on the bottom, and voila! Earth's mass. Earth's mass is close to 6 septillion kilograms. You can do this calculation for any object in the universe. Now that we know the mass of Earth, we can calculate the density, which is just mass divided by volume. Earth is close enough to a sphere, and we know the radius of Earth. So here's Earth's volume in cubic kilometers. What we find is Earth's average density is 5.51 grams per centimeter cubed. We know the composition of the lithosphere and upper regions of the mantle, but those densities don't really go beyond 3.5 grams per centimeter cubed. Now, if we assume Earth is made almost entirely of silicate minerals and whatever else we find on the crust, all the way down to Earth's core, you can calculate what the overall density of Earth would be with the increased density and pressure at the core. And when we add that together with the density of the uppermost layers, it does not bring Earth's average density up to 5.51. So we need heavier materials, and having an iron-nickel core brings Earth's average density up to where it needs to be, at 5.51. But couldn't it just be a far smaller core made of much more dense elements like uranium or lead? Well, theoretically, the core of some planet could be that, but ours isn't. Let's talk about how we know. One, like we just covered, iron and nickel in the core brings Earth's average density up to where it needs to be. But also, meteorites. If you recall from our first Earth science video, I gave a brief account of how Earth and the other planets formed. Planets and moons are made of colliding debris in space. Comets, meteorites, and asteroids, at least for rocky planets. We have thousands and thousands of meteorites with access to study. They come in many different varieties, but they give us insight into the kinds of materials that make up rocky bodies like planets and moons. Iron meteorites happen to be common. Earth, in fact, is mostly iron. Yet another reason to assume an iron-nickel core is Earth's magnetic field. There are only a few elements that even can generate magnetic fields, and iron is one of them. The magnetic fields of the gas giant planets are a very different story, but we will have to wait quite a while before we get to that. Earth's rotating core of mostly iron generates a magnetic field. Some of the convection that occurs inside the core is important too, but the planet's rotation itself is key. Venus, which is nearly the same size as Earth and almost certainly has a core like Earth's, doesn't have a magnetic field because it spins 243 times slower than Earth. Much like a slow-turning generator doesn't produce much electricity, a slowly rotating core doesn't produce much of a magnetic field. Okay, to finish up here, let's talk about how we know where each of these layers are. At a certain depth, seismic waves increase in velocity. This is strange because they lose energy, so why should they speed up? This increase in speed comes from the waves transferring to a different, more rigid material. This boundary marks the transfer from the crust to the mantle, and it's called the Mohorovičić discontinuity after its discoverer, Andrija Mohorovičić. But you can just call it the Moho. Seismic waves continue to increase in velocity through the Earth as the Earth gets more dense. That is, until they don't. Right here at the outer core, seismic waves lose about half their velocity. The material is a liquid at this point, so it's not as rigid. A dense liquid is still less efficient at transferring energy than a much less dense solid. Notice how the seismic waves do increase in velocity throughout the outer core, and then their velocity rockets back up at the inner core. Another reason we know the outer core is liquid is because S waves cannot be picked up by seismic stations on the opposite side of the globe, but P waves can. P waves are compression waves that can travel through any kind of material, solid, liquid, or gas. S waves can only travel through the mantle and crust because they can only travel through solid materials. However, some seismic stations don't pick up any seismic waves at all, even if they are closer to the epicenter. This is due to the deflection of the waves by the boundary of the outer core. As the speed of the seismic waves changes, so does their vector. That's why we say velocity more often in science, because velocity is speed plus direction. So this P-wave shadow zone, as it's called, is caused by Earth's outer core. Do some simple calculations, and you get a sense of the precise size of that outer core, where it begins. You see, we really can see into the Earth without actually having to go there. Now that we understand Earth's interior, we are ready to move on to plate tectonics. First, beginning with continental drift. Thanks for watching.